eager to expand cooperation with like-minded partners. The Secretary thanked Minister Kishi for his participation in the Ukraine Security Consultative Group last week in Germany, and he welcomed Japan's continued leadership role in countering Russia's illegal aggression. They also discussed China's ongoing coercion in the East and South China Seas and the need to uphold a free and Indo-Pacific that secures peace and prosperity for all. I never had theme music to my opening statement. It's very soothing. Please don't stop it. Finally, they affirmed the need to continue close collaboration with allies and partners to bolster integrated deterrence. Elsewhere here at the Pentagon, U.S. Assistant Secretary of Defense for International Affairs, Dr. Celeste Wallander, is meeting today with Kenya Cabinet Secretary of Defense Eugene Wamalwa and the Kenyan Chief of Defense General Robert Kabochi. They're here in the United States for the U.S.-Kenya Bilateral Defense Forum. The two sides are discussing a range of topics, including regional security, cybersecurity, security cooperation, the U.S. Africa Command mission, and climate change. And then lastly, in the Southern Command AOR, Southcom is participating in an exercise CENTAM Guardian 22 in El Salvador. It started on the 1st of the month, runs through the 22nd. CENTAM Guardian is an annual multinational exercise designed to build humanitarian assistance, disaster response capacity, and promote cooperation and interoperability between participating forces. 4 nations, including El Salvador, as the host nation, of course, Guatemala, Honduras, and the United States are participating. And all told, it's about 320 personnel from those 4 countries participating in that exercise. And again, it runs until the 22nd of May. So with that, Lita.
John, as you're aware, Russia has been hitting a lot more targets out in the west towards Lviv and hitting electrical stations and things like that. Is there a concern that Russia is getting more precise in their ability to hit critical infrastructure like that? And does this raise concerns about the safety, particularly of diplomats, et cetera, in Lviv? And will the U.S. Defense Department provide additional security for them there?
Okay, well, out there, you're right. They are attempting to hit what we assess to be critical infrastructure targets out towards the west. Electrical power, transportation hubs, that kind of thing. We think this is an effort to try to disrupt the Ukrainians' ability to replenish and reinforce themselves. We are, particularly these most recent strikes, we're still assessing the degree to which they hit what they were targeted. I would just offer, without trying to correlate specifically to these most recent strikes, I would just remind that their ability to target with precision has been less than advertised throughout this entire war. They are not good at precision strikes. They are not discriminate with how they target. So, again, I'm not making a statement about these most recent ones, but I think it's just good to remind ourselves of their lack of accuracy over the course of the last almost 70 days here. As for security of our diplomats, I'll let the State Department speak to their movements and their security protocols. As I've said before, we're in constant discussion with our State Department colleagues, and obviously, it's typical for embassies around the world to have a U.S. Marine security footprint there. We're not back at the embassy in Kyiv, and so I just don't have anything specifically to speak to with respect to U.S. military support right now.
As a follow-up, do you see much impediment to U.S. weapons transfers into Ukraine, and are shipments still getting to them successful, considering these hitting the railheads and all of that?
Yeah, what I can tell you is that the flow into the region continues at an incredible pace. And the flow of materials from the region into Ukraine also continues every single day. And we know that because we talk to the Ukrainians every single day, we know that that material, those weapons, those systems are getting into Ukrainian hands. Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, Abraham.
Yeah, thanks, John. This morning we had a briefing from some of the trainers out in Germany, as you know, and sounded like a lot of U.S. Army soldiers doing that training in National Guard. I wondered if, given that the U.S. is giving this Phoenix Ghost UAV and other materials that perhaps pertain to the Air Force, if any Air Force personnel are doing training of Ukrainians.
I don't know the status of Phoenix Ghost training, but you're right. We had some officials from UCOM, the Army Training Command, talk to you guys about about the systems that they were training Ukrainian soldiers on. As you know, we had a small group that were here in the United States that got both some Switchblade training as well as some unmanned surface vessel training. I just don't have anything on the Phoenix Ghost, but it would most likely be Air Force training to use to train operators who know how to conduct UAS operations. So it would be our expectation that it would be Air Force people doing that training. But I don't know whether that training has started and what that looks like right now.
There's no sort of status update of where.
I don't have a status update on the Phoenix Ghost training, but it would it's safe to assume that training would be conducted by the Air Force.
And if I might follow up on one of Lita's questions about well, I'll have to come back to the other lawsuit.
Are you sure,
I'll try to.
Travis?
Thanks, John. The department just decided to allow service members to ship gun safes with their household goods, and it said one of the reasons for that was suicide. The announcement also said that this was something that was asked for, the Air Force had asked for. I was just wondering if there's something more that you can say about that decision, and does this dovetail or is it connected at all with the Secretary's Commission on Suicide?
I can't say that it's directly associated with the independent review committee that he stood up, but it's very much, in fact, he's talked about this publicly. He's talked about the fact that so many military suicides are by gunshot, and that one of the things that we want to look at is weapon safety, particularly making sure that that the men and women of the force know their options, what's available to them in terms of keeping firearms safe in the home. So we very much, and he very much welcomes any move by the services with respect to improving firearm safety in the home, as well to include the travel between stations. I mean, that's welcome. It's prudent. It's the right thing to do because, again, so many suicides are happening due to gunshot wounds.
You've talked in the past about the Secretary's concern about gun storage and suicide, and I'm just wondering if there is anything else that the department is looking at as far as storage, any changes or policies that it believes could help with suicide that might be coming up.
I don't have any changes to policy to talk to today, but it is a concern of the secretaries and the departments, suicide writ large. As you know, that's why he stood up the independent review committee to take a look at this. So we're still putting all that together. But I don't have any specific announcements to make. Barbara?
Different subject, if I may. Military women already face some of the, compared to their civilian counterparts, face some of the strongest legal restrictions on getting abortion services already. They can be assigned to states, just so you understand my question's not hypothetical, they can be assigned to states with significant restrictions. If they want to go to another state for that medical service, they may have to ask their commander for leave. In their military hospitals and military insurance doesn't cover it. A number of states have trigger laws, should Roe versus Wade be overturned, that will automatically mean additional new restrictions are put into place. So my question is, in this environment, which already exists, separate from the national discussion on the Supreme Court, the existing environment for military women, what concerns do you have, does the Pentagon have, that as you go forward, women looking at joining the military and women already in the military may not see it as the most appealing choice for their careers if they could be assigned, for example, to a state with severe restrictions, which already are in effect in places like Texas? Do you have concerns that women, as we go forward here, may not see the military as an attractive career option for themselves? Could it impact readiness? Are there concerns about this?
I think, Barb, in general, we're always concerned about being able to recruit and retain talent. And what causes an individual to want to join the military is often a very individual decision. And there's a lot of factors that affect one's decision to join, and certainly a lot of factors once one's in that affect their decision to stay. I'd rather not get into an abortion-centric discussion here today, but I can tell you that that the health and well-being of our men and women are of paramount concern to department leadership, and we certainly want to make sure that whoever they are and wherever they are, that they know that we're serious about that pledge, and that we are serious about making sure they have the information, the tools that they need to make the most informed decisions for their own personal health and well-being. That is, of course, in discussion with their physicians and their families. Is that okay?
Well,
I
want
guess
to
not.
let my colleague ask her question as well, of course, but I'm going to ask, I guess, an additional time, because the national conversation is, and I realize it may be difficult from the podium, but the national conversation is not hypothetical.
I didn't suggest that it was.
No, you certainly did not. I want to say that for the record. You did not do that. The national conversation includes whether the military has opened its doors in recent years to get rid of the don't ask, don't tell policy, same-sex marriage, LGBTQ, women's reproductive rights. And I just wonder if the national conversation is yet at a point where the military, the Defense Department, feels it will be allowed to maintain a socially diverse force. And especially the question right now, because no secret to anybody, the Supreme Court conversation for women on reproductive rights.
Yeah. I would just say a couple of things. I mean, one, we have never assumed, ever, that we are somehow immune to what's going on in the rest of America, whether that's a social issue, a medical issue, a legal issue, or an economic issue. We're an all-volunteer force and have been since the mid-'70s, which means we have to go out and recruit that talent. We've got to convince you that service in the United States military is in your interest as well as ours. Sometimes we're successful and sometimes not. And individuals obviously have a right to make that decision for themselves. And we know that. And look, I mean, a macro example of this is the economy right now. I mean, there are plenty of jobs out there. And so our recruiters have been under some strain because COVID didn't give them the contact that they needed with potential recruits, the way we're used to going after talent. And then with the economy and the jobs situation being so good out there, then we're competing with that. So we're absolutely not immune to it. All I can